Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am here to talk to you about a book that I just read, Clouds Without Water by Garry Harper. And I'm sitting here with Zelda if you see me petting somebody. This book is about a town called Calvary and a man named Henry who has 3 kids. There's a guy that used to be a resident of this town, and his name is Pastor William. And he shows up and he announces that he knows that on October 22nd, 1844, that day will be the second coming of Christ. And a lot of people don't seem to quite believe him or subscribe to what he's saying. And a lot of people do believe him. Well, Henry doesn't believe this. It's not that he's not a God-fearing man. He just doesn't believe that that's something that should be prepared for. He believes that one should live their life to the fullest every day and not prepare for when their demise comes. But as time goes on, William really manipulates a huge part of the population into believing that Christ is coming. And then when Christ doesn't come on that day, it gets more dramatic from there. I don't want to give anything away, but I thought this book was so good. I loved it. I loved it so much. I got really invested in a couple of the characters. I think it made me question certain things and what I feel. In some ways, it was very inspiring to me. I found Henry's character to be very inspiring. And what I mean by that is, I think it's so important to listen to our instincts and stand true to who we are, no matter what. And he did that. He had quite the price that he had to pay to stay true to his beliefs. But I really admire that. And it was so wonderful to step back in time and to kind of feel like I got a little bit of a taste of what it would be like to live back then. I really admire the amount of work and research the author would have had to put into this book to write the book. Also, it really made me think about the world that we're living in today and how parallel it is to this book, as far as a large group of people being manipulated into believing certain things, and then another group of people not believing those things. And so you've got the two sides, and they both kind of start really digging their heels deeper into the sand, so to speak. That's what we're going through right now. And the manipulation from both sides just keeps going up. Now, in this book, it's just one side and then those that don't agree. I wouldn't say that Henry was manipulating anybody. He just didn't want to partake in some of the things that the people that believed their lives were all going to end on a certain date, he didn't want to take part in some of the things that they wanted him to. But it's a really interesting way to think about how large groups of people are manipulated and how they stay manipulated. It's interesting too, because the pastor William in this book, he had said that this time was the most destructive time, that there were things going on that had never been worse in the history of the world since Jesus had died, right? Well, I'm thinking about that, and just in America alone, I'm thinking, well, the people that went through the Salem witch trials, they probably wouldn't have agreed with you. Native Americans wouldn't agree with you. People who have been slaves wouldn't agree with you. And that's just in America. And there's probably other people I'm not mentioning. So it's interesting how, when you look at some of these different cults and stuff, how the leader can say stuff like that. Nothing like this has ever happened before. I mean, it's nice. It's kind of cute to feel that way or to say that. But the truth is, atrocities going on now have happened before. And I also found it really fascinating that when this pastor realizes that he's wrong, his reaction. I found that fascinating. And I found everyone else's reaction to his being wrong fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm telling you what. This book gave me more of a thirst for historical knowledge of that era, because it's not really an era of our history that I've studied much. I did find out that there are some documentaries on this event. It's called The Great Disappointment, and it's also part of the Millerite movement. William Miller, the pastor in this book, is the one that founded the Millerite movement, or that started the Millerite movement. There are documentaries. Some of them are here on YouTube. I started watching one of them, and then I thought, you know what? I want to finish the book before I finish it. So I haven't finished it yet, but it was very compelling. Obviously, there's some differences in the actual story as opposed to this, which is why this is historical fiction. A few other things that I just found really interesting was how destructive it can be for anyone, but especially a group of people, to trust the wrong spiritual leader. I think it's so important to follow our instincts. I found the power of the press, or the power of the newspaper, in this book to be really intriguing. And I also thought it was pretty neat to think about how when someone is manipulating a group of people, they always point the finger at someone that doesn't agree with them and blame them for everything that's going on. And people just totally believe it. They don't even stop and think, maybe I should look into this and think that maybe it's not the other person's fault, or should I step back and think kind of logically about this? No, they just immediately believe the person that they've decided to put all of their beliefs into. I cried. I cried in this book. That's how much I loved it. I wanted to read you an excerpt. This is in a letter that somebody wrote to someone else. Truly, whoever can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. If the God-given understanding of your mind does not resist a demand to believe what is impossible, then you will not resist a demand to do wrong to that God-given sense of justice in your heart. As soon as one faculty of your soul has been dominated, other faculties will follow as well. Yeah, right? So I really love this book. I give it 5 stars. Also, if I were to compare this to another book as far as how much it's making me think, it kind of reminded me of 1984. I'm just saying, it did. Except it's easier to read and understand than 1984. So if you like 1984, run, don't walk to read this book. So I want to thank the author for sending me a copy of this book to review. Let me know if you've read this book or if you want to read this book. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Happy reading. Bye.